Good evening. This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. The mad rush to judgment and adjournment by Congress for Christmas is producing a tree full of legislation. It could affect the U.S. Treasury and your pocketbook for years to come. Tonight, House and Senate negotiators formally approved a bill that's supposed to whittle down the huge federal budget deficit to nothing by the end of the decade. It will mean cuts in government spending, in domestic programs, and for defense. A last-minute hitch. President Reagan insisted on more flexibility about where and when to cut Pentagon spending, and he got it. Phil Jones reports this is only one of several major lifeblood issues flowing through Congress, including top-to-bottom, border-to-border tax overhaul affecting every paycheck in America.
House Republican leaders remain on a collision course with their president over tax reform. Not even a trip to the White House for some arm-twisting by Mr. Reagan would convince GOP leaders to vote for a tax reform package crafted by Democrats if a Republican plan fails on the House floor.
I cannot just take, direction from the president when I am convinced in my heart and in my mind that this bill is now not in the best interest of the economic growth.
I don't like it a bit. I'm just very uncomfortable even talking to you under these circumstances.
Up at the Capitol, the administration was pouring on the pressure. Treasury Secretary Baker came to lobby moderate Republicans.
What are you going to tell the Republicans?
Tell them they got a great opportunity here.
There were indeed some Republicans ready to vote for the Democratic plan if it's the only way to keep tax reform alive.
But if a bill fails to pass the House, in spite of, let's assume, a majority of Democrats supporting it and a vast majority of Republicans opposing it, I think it's bad politics.
The House Republicans claim the proposal by the Ways and Means Committee would hit corporations harder than individuals. So hard, the economy would slow down. Some Democrats intend to vote against their leadership, so it will take Republican votes if tax reform is to survive the House and make it to the Senate next year. The feeling here tonight is that this will probably happen. Dan?
Phil, we're talking about two things here. One is the tax reform, which you concentrated on in your report, and the other is the so-called budget balancing Graham-Rudman bill. Let's go back to that for a moment. How is that going to affect my pocketbook and the pocketbook of other Americans?
Well, what's going to happen is it's going to mandate spending cuts in several domestic programs and in military spending. Only 9 social programs are really protected under this plan, and the feeling here is, prediction is, that as many as 50 programs would have to be terminated or could be terminated unless a tax increase is passed. Really, only Social Security and Medicaid are among those things that are protected. If it works, well, it could mean that it would help keep inflation down, even lower than it is now, and it might even lower interest rates.
Phil, thank you very much. Japan's trade superiority with the United States just keeps booming along, so much so that Japan's largest automaker announced last summer that it would set up a wholly Japanese-owned plant in the USA. Location of the plant was revealed today, and Bruce Hall reports it confirms a radical departure in American car making.
Toyota will make a formal announcement tomorrow that it will make this rolling Kentucky farmland the home of a giant new U.S. auto assembly plant.
Everybody likes to bring good news, and I think it's exciting for Kentucky. The feeling and the response, the phones have been ringing. It's great.
This means all 5 of Japan's major auto companies have or will establish a production foothold in the United States, their largest and most profitable overseas market. Toyota's selection gives Japanese auto firms manufacturing sites in 5 states. Some see a political strategy in the decision to spread them out.
They'll be gaining more friends. They'll be gaining more senators that will support them in Congress as Congress starts to debate the trade laws.
The effect of the Japanese invasion has also been to diversify the U.S. auto industry and create a new industrial belt extending away from traditional automaking centers and towards the Mid-South and Sun Belt. The strength of the trend was made clear by GM's recent decision to build its new Saturn plant in Tennessee.
Right in the middle of the country with close access to both the eastern and the growing southern market is important for them.
All of the sites are similar. Rural areas near major interstate crossroads and rail service. All have cheap electricity, cheap water, and potentially cheap labor.
We have a lot of people here in Scott County and the surrounding counties that are out of a job, and I think this is a shot in the arm that we need.
An added attraction for Toyota and the other Japanese companies, the large young labor pool is non-union. Bruce Hall, CBS News, Georgetown, Kentucky.
The House today passed an emergency rescue package for the troubled farm credit system and sent it to conference with the Senate. While that lending network has nothing directly to do with commercial banks, one congressman referred to a debt-ridden farmer who yesterday killed himself and 3 others. The congressman pleaded, and I quote, "Let there be no others who are brought to the brink." Ned Potter looks at the desperate contradiction of American farmers on the thin edge in a land of plenty.
What happened here, people said, was the kind of tragedy that was waiting to happen. A tragedy that could have happened elsewhere in America's troubled farm belt. When Dale Burr killed his wife of 40 years, his neighbor, his banker, and himself, he apparently snapped under a strain that many other farmers can understand.
The load was too much for Dale, and it's just like everything closed in.
10 days before yesterday's killings, Burr came to the home of his sister and brother-in-law.
He didn't have anything left. They had possessed everything, and he didn't have anything he could sell. And when this hit, it hurt his pride that he didn't have the money to pay that bill. And I think this is what really got to him.
Dale Burr was several $100,000 in debt to the Hills Bank, and it's been estimated that 40% of Iowa's farmers are in some financial trouble. Bill Ellison has been one of them. He says he's lost 3 different farms in 11 years.
You feel that things are being taken away from you, in many cases unfairly. It's like many people have talked about, it's like a death.
For farmers in financial trouble, shoot the banker has sometimes been a joke. Until now, just a joke.
The frustration consumes a person. Your thinking isn't straight. You can't think clear anymore. You've tried to sort things out and nothing makes sense.
Counseling organizations have been holding meetings like this one to teach farmers how to handle stress. There was one in the town of Hills just 3 weeks ago.
My concern is that farmers are basing their self-worth on their net worth.
But only in a couple of isolated cases has anybody reacted the way Burr did.
I hope that it does not go on from here. That's what scares me, that this has started something. Let's hope not.
Something in Dale Burr snapped yesterday, and thousands of other farmers understand what it was. Ned Potter, CBS News, Hills, Iowa.
A House vote tonight on one of the most heavily lobbied, heavy money, heavy pressured issues up in Congress. The issue, who has to kick in how much to finance the expanded $10 billion Environmental Protection Agency program, the one that's supposed to clean up the country's worst toxic waste sites. By a close 220 to 206 vote, the House balloted to make the oil and chemical companies pick up most of the tab. In Houston late today, a judge upheld a jury's $11 billion, that's with a B, $11 billion award to Pennzoil for Texaco's interference in a merger with Getty Oil. The wire services say that's the largest civil damage award in U.S. history.
Вполне способны жить и развиваться без всякой торговли друг.
This holiday season, share the magic of Andre, America's best-loved champagne.
I thought safety belts were valuable even before General Motors increased their value with $10,000 worth of life insurance. Now, every new GM car or light truck comes with a 1-year life belt certificate from MIC General, the insurance people at GM, at no extra cost, just for buckling up.
I've always buckled up, but then I guess I've always been the cautious type. See your GM dealer for details, then buckle your life belt.
The 1985 Nobel Peace Prize was awarded today in an atmosphere charged with cries of hypocrisy and with the threat of violence. Tom Fenton is in Oslo.
In frozen December, when the days dwindle down to a few hours, Norwegians are dreaming of a spring thaw. In the heat of a human rights controversy, an American and a Russian dreamed of a nuclear freeze. Dr. Bernard Lown of Harvard and Dr. Yevgeny Chazov, a member of the Soviet Central Committee, were awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for their efforts to promote nuclear disarmament.
We physicians protest against the outrage of holding the entire world hostage.
Outside, people were protesting the Nobel Committee's award to an organization that includes Soviet doctors they say violate human rights. The former head of the Nobel Prize Committee said Dr. Chazov was involved in the Soviet campaign against dissident Andrei Sakharov.
This is against humanity.
10 years ago, she presented the Peace Prize to Sakharov's wife, Yelena Bonner, after the Soviet government barred him from coming to Oslo. Chazov is the only other Soviet ever to win the prize, this time with the blessing of the Kremlin. 5 years ago, Chazov and Laun helped found an organization to mobilize doctors around the world against nuclear weapons. After the ceremony, Laun and Chazov announced they have asked President Reagan and Soviet leader Gorbachev for a meeting.
And we have to persuade the political leaders that it's not merely physicians, but it's an enormous movement of millions of people who are behind us.
As they left, there were more protests. Tonight, Oslo honored the two doctors in a traditional Norwegian manner, and the Nobel Committee insisted there's nothing to apologize for, that this year's prize honors the most fundamental human right, the right to live. Tom Fenton, CBS News, Oslo.
The Peace Prize ceremony happened to come on the annual United Nations Human Rights Day. The Soviet newspaper Pravda praised, quote, the guaranteed political liberties and extensive social rights of the Soviet people. Mark Phillips in Moscow tells us that while some of those Soviet people tried to exercise their, quote, guaranteed liberties, visiting Americans attending a so-called business summit were trying to drum up business.
At Pushkin Square in Moscow, a crowd gathered tonight in anticipation of an annual ritual here, a demonstration in support of human rights, a demonstration that never really happens. Tonight, large numbers of plainclothes KGB agents were on duty to keep the handful of potential demonstrators from forming up. At about the same time in the Kremlin, Mikhail Gorbachev was giving a dinner for a large group of American businessmen. They had come to Moscow to try to improve Soviet-American trade because they said the climate after the Geneva summit was right, and they added because relations in other areas, including human rights, would improve if economic ties were strengthened. Commerce Secretary Malcolm Baldrige, who met with Gorbachev earlier in the day, was being diplomatic about human rights.
Human rights usually comes up in these meetings. It's the president's policy not to discuss that in public.
If trade is to be an influence in getting the Soviet Union to change its ways, tonight's scene on Pushkin Square showed how far in the Western view the Soviet Union has to go. When a CBS cameraman tried to film Soviet agents breaking up the small demonstration, he was manhandled. A camera crew from ABC News recorded the scuffle. Soviet police made about a dozen arrests. The demonstrators, one policeman said, would be charged with disturbing the peace. Mark Phillips, CBS News, Moscow.
Financially strapped South Africa announced today that it is extending until the end of March a freeze on repaying billions of dollars in loans to Western banks. The white minority government imposed the repayment freeze last September and had said that it would end on New Year's Day.
At Seiko, great technology inspires great design. Steel rods and gleaming hinges for a supple bracelet watch. Gold tone on gray tone for the definitive strap watch. A second hand on her elegant dress watch. Water resistant too, very today. One diamond and a rich two-tone setting, very tonight. Man invented time, Seiko perfected it.
Kmart has irresistible gifts.
Uncle Harry will love this.
Like the Polaroid 600 LMS camera. It has a low Kmart price and a $5 manufacturer rebate.
What a great camera.
Plus a $2 rebate on these Polaroid color films. So come to Kmart and make someone happy.
Actually, Uncle Harry has always admired this paperweight. Yeah.
As advertised, the American Medical Association today proposed laws banning all advertising of cigarettes, chewing tobacco, snuff, and other tobacco products. The AMA, as we reported at the time, announced its intention to do that last week. Delegates meeting in Washington turned down a proposal requiring AIDS tests for all couples planning to marry. In Flint, Michigan today, a man appeared in a court on a charge of assault with intent to commit murder for spitting at 4 policemen. Authorities said 28-year-old John Richards, stopped on a traffic violation, began spitting on everyone, threatening to spread the deadly AIDS virus. Doctors last month diagnosed Richards as carrying the AIDS antibody. That means he's been exposed, but so far as can be determined, does not actually have the disease.
If you look at just spitting at someone as bringing the charge of assault with intent to murder, of course it's bizarre. But then when you add the AIDS, it loses its humor in a hurry.
The judge ordered Richards to undergo a psychiatric examination. In response to the concern and occasional panic over AIDS, some employers now are asking workers to undergo testing for exposure to the disease. But Richard Schlesinger reports the possibility of false positives in those tests is contributing to a negative reaction.
Greg Duff is 27, healthy, and unemployed. He says he was fired from a local electronics store because he refused his boss's demand that he take a blood test to see if he'd been exposed to the AIDS virus.
He says, I really want you to take this test. And I says, well, I already told you I'm not going to. And he said, well, if you don't, he says, we have ways of getting rid of you.
Duff is one of a small but growing number of people who are being asked to take the test. Employers are trying to make sure their businesses are free of AIDS. The test was designed to protect the blood supply, not the workplace. It detects antibodies to the AIDS virus. If it is positive, it does not mean a person has AIDS or will necessarily get it. Doctors say as many as 95% of the positive results might be false, and they say there is no way to know who will get the disease.
There is no guarantee that even if you have the best confirmatory test we have, that you will in fact contract AIDS.
Johnny Warner's blood was routinely tested when he took part in a blood drive at the hospital where he worked. It had the antibody, and rumors started circulating that he had AIDS. To prove he didn't, he had a lymph node surgically removed and tested. His doctor said he was healthy. He was fired that week.
It just really hurt because I was so proud and all of my results came back, you know, and everything was negative and the whole 9 yards, and that was that Wednesday that I got laid off.
Some medical experts worry about how the test is being used. They say it is an imprecise tool being used to make important decisions about people's futures.
So I think it's a waste of money. It's not necessary. It will generate fear. It'll generate panic. It'll generate discrimination.
Several states already restrict the use of the AIDS antibody test, and more are expected to follow suit to prevent panic about AIDS from affecting as many lives as the disease itself. Richard Schlesinger, CBS News, Miami.
San Diego Mayor Roger Hedgecock, convicted of conspiracy and perjury, tonight was denied a new trial, ending Hedgecock's bid to stay in office. Harvard University tonight announced receiving a $5 million gift for a center to study the press, politics, and public policy. The money comes from Walter H. and Phyllis J. Shorenstein of San Francisco. The Harvard Center is to be named for their daughter, the late Joan Shorenstein Barone, who, when she died, was a producer for the CBS Evening News.
They gave it a 4-cylinder, 16-valve jewel of an engine and the most sophisticated suspension outside the racing world, and even a rear aerodynamic wing. Then they gave it a name, the Mercedes-Benz 2.316. And the rest is performance history, or soon will be. For 1986, Mercedes-Benz widens the gap.
There's a great new way to knock out bad breath. New Chlorette stick gum. It's the only stick gum that has Actazole with chlorophyll to fight bad breath. Knock out bad breath with Chlorette, the breath deodorant.
Professional dental technicians use instruments like this to remove denture stain. Effordent's powerful Blue Action formula can help you keep that professional-looking clean. Professional strength Effordent removes even stubborn stains between teeth.
In the search for a way to keep school children off drugs and drugs out of the schools, one New Jersey school board came up with a policy that stirred interest and controversy nationwide. Beckton Region High School was going to be the first in the nation to implement testing of all students for drug use. Today, a Superior Court judge said no. Such blanket testing has no valid medical reason and thus violates the constitutional rights of the students. There was a fatal helicopter crash today in Michigan, and this time special notice must be taken. Because heroes are involved, and because, as Frank Courier reports, this time it wasn't just another flight, it was a mission.
It was foggy and drizzly when the hospital helicopter lost its way in the night and crashed in the trees while rushing to pick up an auto accident victim. For pilot John Harrison and Dr. Gene Hollister, who died in the chopper crash, and Nurse Julie Miller, who was injured, it is the tragic irony of risking lives unnoticed to save others.
I think for the immediate future, we're all going to be very much aware and a little bit hesitant about things like this.
Pilot Harrison and the rest of the team at Toledo's St. Vincent Medical Center had drawn national attention with their flights for life, of rushing emergency care to remote areas by helicopter, and always the hazards of flying those middle-of-the-night missions.
You're flying into unprepared landing areas, and with wires and obstacles, you never know what you're going to face, and the only illumination that you have is what you have on board the aircraft.
This guy was in the back seat, Annie. Where was the other guy?
Like so many other hospital Flight for Life programs, the team at St. Vincent was mindful of safety and had flown more than 5,000 missions without an accident until today.
What Jeannie would want, what John would want, would certainly be for us to continue that mission that they were on.
We'll show you right over here where.
John Harrison had recently taken time out to show one of his little patients the helicopter that saved his life, a flight which today, instead of giving life, took it away. Frank Courier, CBS News, Detroit.
I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV. And when many adults get a cough, they play doctor at home. They treat their cough with the same medicine they originally bought for their children. They need one of the adult formulas from Vicks, for the coughs adults get, with the strength adults need. Formula 44 for coughs, 44D for coughs with congestion, and Formula 44M for coughs with congestion and a raw, irritated throat. The adult formulas. You can't buy anything more effective.
The adult formulas, from Vicks, of course.
Before you buy insurance, you should examine the evidence. An agent who works for one company can only offer you the policies his company sells. But an independent agent represents several companies. Check the yellow pages for your independent insurance agent.
Need help?
Yeah, and I've got 10 minutes to get to the radio station.
Ah, here's the problem.
Stetson Cologne. Easy to wear, hard to resist.
And for that great smelling guy who started my car, I get off at 6.
With a box of Jell-O brand gelatin and a little this and that, you can give them a good old time. Grab a melon, turn it round, turn an apple upside down. A sun-kissed orange goes great with Jell-O. Make it red, green, or yellow. Add a strawberry, peach, or pear, and watch them leap up in the air. Just look in these, and you'll find those. With Jell-O gelatin, any fruit goes. Jell-O gelatin, we're up to something good.
What with all the special interest, high-powered big bucks lobbying over everything from tax overhaul to the budget deficit to toxic waste cleanup, you may not have noticed one of the biggest shell games in Congress ever. Bob Simon looks at a lobbying effort that has everybody scrambling, complete with hard-boiled bureaucrats, nasty cracks, and a whole industry walking on eggshells.
It is an issue facing the nation, the kind that cuts to the quick of our democratic system.
You have to stand up and be counted, and we're standing up being counted. We will prevail.
That question has to be answered, and we're going to answer it.
What are they talking about? A machine called the A-King, put together in a shed in Southern California. What's the question? Should it be outlawed? What does it do? It takes the shells off eggs quickly, that's all. It's bought by restaurant owners and bakers who say it makes their buns better.
Look better, taste better, much better. That the products, they look at you, they stand out.
far superior. More bounce in the oven. Terrific.
But when bakers start cracking their own eggs, they stop buying liquid eggs from egg crackers. Egg crackers are big businessmen with lobbyists in Washington. They've tried to get the Egg King banned. They say it could make people sick.
We're standing up, trying to speak out for what we believe in, and it does pose a health hazard.
A health hazard? A security threat. The gizmo is used in the Pentagon dining room. It is used to prepare airplane meals. It is used in the Watergate. Bakers and backers claim the dispute is not about eggs, it's about bread.
It's not a health issue at all. It's an economic issue, and to blame it on health where no health hazard exists, I think that's one of the things that got me going in this.
The other thing that got the congressman going was the Egg King maker is his constituent.
We've had machines out for almost 5 years. Now we have over 800. We're breaking 1 million eggs a day, and there's never been one case of any type of food poisoning. The only complaints come from the United Egg Producers. It's amazing.
The egg producers tried to get Congress to ban the machines. When that failed, they tried to get the bureaucracy to take action. Lots of luck. The Department of Agriculture says the machine cannot be used by the egg cracking industry. But as soon as you get to a bakery or a restaurant, Agriculture says, not our turf, talk to the FDA. That's the Food and Drug Administration, another Washington bureaucracy. But the FDA says we deal with ingredients and products. Don't talk to us about machines.
The bureaucracy is at its best on this issue. It is just throwing up its arms and saying, well, I don't know. Joe has it. I don't know. Sam has it. I don't. It's the most ludicrous thing I've been involved with in the 21 years I've been around this Congress.
So, build a better mousetrap and create a capital crisis. Move over tax reform deficit and military spending. Here's another that could be here forever. The quandary of the Egg King. Bob Simon, CBS News, Washington.
And that's the CBS Evening News for this Tuesday. Dan Rather reporting from New York. Thank you for joining us. Good night.
Betty Dorfman before the Nikon One Touch. Betty after the Nikon One Touch. The Parfit family before the Nikon One Touch. The Parfit family after. Mr. Dennis Pinkstaff before. Mr. Pinkstaff after.
This is great.
The new autofocus autoflash Nikon One Touch. It's so easy to use, it's given thousands of people something they've always wanted.
Oh, the baby's a week old. Got any pictures?
Pictures they can be proud of.
Through the centuries, a wine has evolved with a unique taste, the taste of selected European vinifera grapes. A taste so incredibly delicious it wins awards year after year. A taste that has won the hearts of more people than any other imported wine in history. Riuniti on ice. So nice. Introducing Riuniti Spumante, a superb sparkling wine from Italy. Riuniti Spumante. More taste than champagne.
Cruel, wet weather can destroy ordinary leather gloves. But Stain Guard gloves resist rain and stain. Protect your investment. Buy Stain Guard leather gloves, only from Eris.
Whatever your man's feet do for a living, Isotoner Comfort Slippers can relax them. The unique fabric soothes his feet to help him feel relaxed all over. Give him Isotoner Comfort Slippers for Christmas.
I'm Forrest Sawyer. Bruce Springsteen's saxophone player Clarence Clemens plus ballet superstar turned choreographer Peter Martins. Tomorrow on the CBS Morning News.
This is CBS.
In our news tonight, the fight to keep 2 Nashville high schools open. Bill Boner's efforts to fend off any congressional challengers, and a cigarette smoker's lawsuit blaming a tobacco company for his health problems. Details on these stories and more next on Eyewitness News. Join us.
Need some special gift ideas? Walmart can help and save you money, too. She'll love the G9